there, I'm Nancy with Creative Cutz. Thanks for joining me. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make these cute little layered dimensional flowers. And they can either be cut on your electronic cutter or you can cut them by hand. But the file to cut these ones is available on my blog, and the blog address is right there on your screen. So what you'll need in the cutting file, you'll find 3 different sizes of petal layers. So you'll cut 1 out of green in the large, and then you'll cut 3 out of whatever color you'd like your flower to be, 1 of each size. Other things that you'll need are a sanding block or some sandpaper. You'll need some glue, and I'm just using Aleene's tacky glue. You're going to need to be able to spritz them with a little bit of water, so some kind of a spray bottle. And then I like mine to have a little bit of sparkle to them, so I'm going to spritz them with a little bit of shimmer mist as well. So the first step in making these is just to sand them a little bit. Now I'm using the Coordinations cardstock for these, and the nice thing about that is it has that white core, so when I sand it, I'm going to use a rougher side there, you can see some of that white starting to come through. So because I want these flowers to look fairly worn and distressed, I'm going to just sand all the pieces first. And if you use a rougher sanding paper or sanding block, then it actually goes fairly quickly. I'll just sand. Use the other end of my sanding block so I don't get green all over my flower. So you can see how that white core comes out really nicely. And it's just a few strokes on each layer, and you've got a nice sanded flower. Okay, so my pieces are sanded. I'm just going to take a little bit more color off of that one, and I'll brush away that little bit of cardstock that ended up there. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is crumple these. So I'm just going to spritz a little bit of water on them, and I'm just putting a couple drops. I don't want to soak it completely, I just want to kind of moisten it. So I just put a couple drops on this, spread it around, and then I'm just going to give these a really good crumple. So I'll just crumple them up, unfold it a little bit, crumple it again a few different ways. Now you need to be careful that you don't get too much water on here, because if you do, then the paper can start to tear. And a little bit of tearing is okay because we want these to be fairly weathered and worn looking, but you don't want to rip them too much because that'll kind of wreck the shape of the flower. Let's spread that water around and give this a nice crumple. It's kind of fun to see what kind of creases and wrinkles you can get when you do this, because every time you do it, you're going to come up with something a little bit different. A little bit of water on my background there. So just give all 4 of them a real good crunch up. The nice thing about these is they're really quick and easy to make. The sanding and the crinkling is probably the part that takes the longest. And my last piece, a little bit of water, and give it a nice wrinkle. Okay, so now I've got my 4 pieces and they're all nice and distressed. Now I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to start layering them together. So I've got my green base, and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue right in the center of that. And then I'll take the largest petal layer, and I'm going to offset the petals a little bit. So just by rotating a little bit, then you'll see that green coming through, and just press that down so that I adhere to the glue. Okay, and then the next layer, same thing, a little dot of glue in the center. And it doesn't take very much glue to hold them together. And again, I'm just going to offset the petals a little bit. Stick that down, and then finally the last layer, which is the smallest one. So you start with the largest and work your way to the smallest. And glue that down in the middle again. Okay, now at this point, I find that they generally flatten out a little bit, so I want to just get some of that dimension back. So I'm just going to kind of crumple them again gently. And you'll find that once these dry, they dry with this really nice dimensional look to them. Okay, so they're all glued together. Now I want to add a little bit of glimmer. So I'm just going to take my glimmer mist, and this is just the dewdrop color, so it's kind of a sheer color. It just gives a little bit of sparkle, and I'll just give it a couple sprays. And I found that when I tried to use the glimmer mist to actually moisten the petals, what happened was once I started to crumple, the glimmer mist kind of pooled and puddled. So I find it works better to moisten the petals with water first and crumple them, and then give them a little spritz with glimmer mist once everything is glued together. Now the final piece is the center, and I'm just using a little flat yellow stone. So again, just a little dab of glue in the middle there. And then drop my stone in right in the center. And then all you have to do is just wait for that to dry, and you can attach it to your card or your scrapbook or any other paper craft project that you're working on.